It's loading. There we go. All right. So today we're going to be talking about making things truly scary slash without traumatizing your audience.
What's the point if you're not going to traumatize the audience?
This is for more like if you want to write for junior fiction. In which case, if you don't want to traumatize children. Good luck getting published then. Can we stop traumatizing each other now? All right. So yes, I would agree with that. I would say that yes, if you want to have violence in your novel, in that case, then just make it a young adult novel. You will have a hard time getting it published as a junior novel, just because a lot of kids are very sensitive, and a lot of parents therefore are really sensitive, and so publishers are a little iffy.
Unless if you do it
or do it independently.
You bring it to a bunch of kids in orphanages who are already severely traumatized.
All right.
No, you can leave now. That's all I'm saying. Yourself into this room enough.
So please, Sadie, I love you. Thank you. All right. So, this kind of scenario, like I said, is for writing junior fiction, or if you just want to not traumatize your reader. I really just don't like doing that.
Write like a Halloween story?
No, more just, for example, you might have a villain that kidnaps and tortures someone, but you don't want to traumatize your readers by describing said torture.
What about the false prince?
So you can have things, and that's part of what I'm going to talk about, is how the False Prince and Michael Vey and different books like that had horrible, disturbing themes in them, but weren't actually disturbing. So like bad things happen in that, a lot of terrible bad things, but they make sure that you kind of aren't as traumatized by it by the way they present it. So for the first thing that I'm going to say is the imagination is a very powerful tool. The cutoff scene is your best friend. This is what the False Prince really does best, if you may notice, where it will have things like him being whipped or being tortured or other things like that. However, it cuts off before it gets truly really bad. So you just show a little bit of it, and then their imagination fills in the blank.
Yeah, and then it shows him with the broken legs.
This sucks.
Exactly.
Charlotte Doyle.
Yeah.
Charlotte Doyle.
Scenario where there's like this guy and you're just like 40 lashes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you just slowly see him like die and like drop to the ground and then thrown off the show.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with that kind of stuff that makes it so you're not seeing through the character's eyes, so it's not as still have a character that looks away, but you can hear the sound. That fills in the imagination without being like blood, blood, guts.
They are like blood is on his back all over.
True, but do they just describe it for 12 pages?
No.
But see, that's the thing. That's describing a little bit, like less than a sentence, does just enough to make the imagination go wild, but not enough that you're being like, and the blood dripped and dripped. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Just cut it off. Don't do that.
In the start of fifth grade, or like the middle of fifth grade, so I don't remember the full title.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. Alternatively, I'm not actually sure.
It's like True Story of the Adventures of Charlotte.
Yeah, something like that. It's complicated.
I think it's the True Adventures of Charlotte.
Yeah. Anyway, the alternative is to scare people with vibes / descriptions. So, for example, the guy has emerald eyes. That's not that scary, right? But if you say the guy has poison-colored eyes, then you're like, ooh.
The guy's eyes seeping upwards with
seeping upwards is not. I don't know.
Like there's like green gas coming out of his eyes.
Yeah. But then. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The vibes can freak you out. Without being like, hey, he just murdered a guy, you can say like, and then he killed him. Leave it at that. But then the guy's so freaky that you're still freaked out without describing him beheading a guy.
Oh yeah. Well, there is this guy in this book that I was reading, and he's like creepy, like really creepy.
Yeah, and that sometimes that's a show what they do. You just say he killed a guy, and you're like, I can imagine it's freaky because that guy's messed up.
The guy in the book is a serial killer.
Exactly.
And he's got like his teeth are all like rotten, and he like smells and stuff.
Yeah. No, yeah. When you make someone truly, when you make a villain truly creepy, in some ways you don't need to describe all that blood and guts and gore because of the fact that they are so creepy. Your mind runs away with it
Creepy
and
on
does its
vibes
own stuff.
alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, like those creepy villains who are like super posh and like
Yes.
you know,
Yes, and they're drinking
yes.
blood out of a teacup and crap like that, and you're like, why?
Yeah, you're like, oh, I really thought like fancy vampire just
Yeah, pretty much.
or
You
just
got my
like,
vibe.
just a tea party.
Thank you.
Both was.
But anyway, all right. The next thing to, the next thing you can do to, the next thing you can do to avoid traumatizing your reader, but still having the same amount of violence in there, is let us love that character so much that when something bad happens to them or someone they love, then it matters to us. It doesn't matter whether we see it or not.
We were talking about that one
Mhm.
time, like
Yeah.
to like make the character seem a lot eviler.
Mhm.
Like how like if the villain killed a dog,
Yeah.
then they'd seem so much more evil. Or
Yes.
like a puppy.
Yes.
But
The
then
more
it just
innocent the
feels
thing
like-
that they're doing, the
That was
more
like
it
if they
hurts
killed,
you as a
like-
reader.
If they killed like not puppy dog in front of your eyes as the reader, rather than like 100 people in a town.
Yeah, yeah. For some reason,
It makes
the
you
more
feel like,
innocent the thing is, the more that they feel. Yeah.
I know. Like,
Rather than
that was an interesting
So people
thing about,
people
like,
do tend to care about innocence more, and so as a result, like dogs and cats do tend to be like, if you want your villain to be seen as evil right off the bat, have them kill a dog or cat,
But I
because
also think it's important to like note that not all victims are good or are innocent.
That is true. That's
True.
why
And
people
that's
are
when you
less
get
phased
into-
by humans getting killed than-
yes, exactly, and that's why they're less phased by humans than animals. And so
Or
if
just,
you
like,
show this like limping adorable dog and then he kills the dog, you're gonna be like, gasp. Whereas if you see this snarling vicious dog and then he kills that dog, it's not going to matter as much. So you have to demonstrate the innocence of whatever you're killing in order to make it more impactful to your reader.
Oh yes, I've seen this video all over on YouTube, and it's like when that annoying character finally dies, and the author wants you to feel sad. Oh no, I'm devastated. Oh,
Exactly.
this is terrible.
Exactly. You need to make sure that they really
But when a
care.
dog for like one page dies.
Yeah.
the
If-
one-
The dog that they cared about and cared for the entire time. Like I actually had that happen recently where I was watching a TV show and they had a shapeshifter, and that shapeshifter had unfortunately turned into a dog and been a dog that whole time. And so the family felt kind of betrayed when they found out he's a person. And we're like, that's kind of messed up. But he saved their lives and he helped them. And so you feel like when they kick him out because they're disturbed that he's a person, you're like, that's so messed up. They're so mean. And so when you demonstrate like that a person is really truly good and innocent, then a villain kills them or even hurts them,
At least mostly good.
it crushes you more as a reader than if you were like to describe all this blood and guts and gore. But if you just say this innocent person died, it still thoroughly messes with your reader without traumatizing.
I was sad the first time. Like
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys have all read Harry Potter. I won't say anything.
I have.
I also have. Okay.
Okay.
When Dumbledore died, I was sad the first time, and then I listened to it a bunch of times, and I was like, he's kind of like not great.
he's a neutral character.
He is a neutral character.
He tries to be nurturing to Harry Potter, but at the same time he's getting crap done, and so as a result he's kind of neutral. And so it's interesting. But the reason you cry the first time,
Book, you're
yeah.
like, Dumbledore's so amazing. And
right?
then, like,
Yeah.
And then the second book, you're like,
Yeah. The reason.
My entire world is
Yes.
changed.
Because the reason you cried the first time is because he seemed innocent and sweet and caring and loving of Harry. And then you learn more about him and you're like, this is kind of a shady dude.
let's leave him with his abusive uncle and aunt until he becomes humble enough
And it's like,
to be famous.
messed up. Anyway.
You're like, that's when he's 11. Anyway, I can actually.
So,
Well, like, the
Okay.
fact that
Let him be abused until
let him be abused.
Yeah.
Yeah, still messed up. But anyway, so another thing you can do is playing on the fears of your character. So, or having no regard to death or torture and seeming unfazed by it. A villain who is not even phased by their actions of killing people or torturing people is going to be a lot scarier because of the fact that they're just straight up doing horrific things and just like, meh, it's a Tuesday. And that makes you so much more terrified. Makes it way more terrifying than a guy who's like, I killed a guy and I kind of feel bad about it. Like that's not really scary.
First time it happens, they're like, oh no, what am I doing? And then they suddenly get more and more hardened until they
Yes.
don't care anymore.
Yes. And so seeing when they don't care, or even yes, or even when they become this kind of character that's so dark that they actually enjoy it. That's when it's truly scary. A great example of this is Michael Vey. One of the things he said is he wanted to demonstrate just how evil Hatch was without showing all this blood and guts and violence. And so a lot of things he did was just have Hatch dehumanize people through torture and then not care about it. So for example, he had a guy's tongue cut out and he was like, yes, this is hilarious. Dance, my monkey, dance. And it's like, that's messed up. Like you see him as a messed up, tormented, horrible soul because he's doing this horrible thing to a person and enjoying it. It's not the fact that you see him cutting the tongue out. That's not what makes it terrifying. What makes it terrifying is his reaction after the fact. And so in some ways you don't need that blood and that gore and that violence in order to make that scene impactful. What's impactful is the emotion behind it, how he's reacting to this. So sometimes even just having a character like kill someone and be like enjoying of it can also be terrifying. Having someone be like, I killed them, it was so much fun.
Oh yeah,
It's like, yes, 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 like Azula too, where she's just like, she's enjoying it so much. She's zapping people to death, and that's terrifying.
Throwing rocks at these adorable ducks.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Oh yes, that's also another thing.
And you see things like that, and on top of that, she admits it. Remember on the Ember Island, where she's like, my own mother thought I was a monster. She's right, of course, but it still hurt. And it's like, what?
I see that. It's so funny.
Yes, and in some ways, the reason why it's so terrifying is because you're realizing she knows she's a monster and she does not care. She enjoys
like
it.
at the end when she's just like dashing around in complete psychopath.
Yeah, because she's because she's slowly gone insane. And so, like, yeah, sometimes having the insanity, that kind of thing, or even just enjoying something that no sane person should enjoy, can make the villain far creepier and far still traumatizing for your reader without showing all of this blood and gore and violence. You don't need to have as much of the violence in order to make them scary. Sometimes you just need to have the villain be truly a horrific person.
Yay.
All right, next thing. Showing the results of the torture without showing the violence. This is actually far less traumatizing. So, for example, if you have, it has actually been shown to be far less traumatizing. So, for example, like with the one where he had his tongue cut out, if you showed the tongue being cut out, that would be far more like, nope, gross, should not see that. But seeing him afterwards with no tongue dancing in front of this court audience is far less traumatizing because it's seen as creepy and it's seen as messed up, but you're not seeing all that blood and gore. Yeah, I did say junior and early YA. I did say that. So at the very beginning, when you guys were all talking. So so that may have been missed, but yes. So I will say in junior books, I would say the biggest thing that you can do is have the emotional impact where it's like they kill off their grandfather, who we all love a ton, and it's like they're messed up, they're evil, they're not okay. And so you don't, or even sometimes if you do show a little bit, it can be okay. It depends on what you're showing. Like with the Charlotte Doyle thing, where they did show him getting whipped a little bit, right? But they didn't exactly show him like
he drops to the floor, he twitch, and died.
Exactly. But that's not nearly as traumatizing as, let's say, someone stabbing someone 47 times or something. That's going to be a lot more messed up.
Oh, yeah. And so, this guy from a show, he was in, like, the mafia, and apparently they just, like, shoot people 3 times even if they're already dead.
Yep.
Just, like,
Exactly. Tradition. Anyway.
It's tradition, so that makes it okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so with things like that, with junior novels, you can show some of the aftermath as long as it's not too bad. It depends on the type of aftermath. So, for example, if they've been tortured and you show that they're just like sitting in a chair and they're all bloodied, you don't have to describe that. You don't have to say, oh, their teeth were ripped out or all their nails were ripped out or whatever torture that they use. You can just say,
they had no ears.
Yeah, you don't have to say that though. You can just you can just say they were super super covered in blood. And then as a result, your junior fiction readers, that would be weird.
They were like husk of a person.
Yeah, that's fair. So you're saying they like sucked out of their blood like a vampire. Yeah. So in that case, that would also be horrifying to a junior fiction reader, right? Because junior fiction is typically at oldest 12 to 13. So that's more what we're talking about is upper middle grade. With that kind of thing, you can show things like the body is sucked dry of blood, and that's horrific, right? But you're not showing them being actively sucked dry by a vampire.
Yeah.
Or you're, or like I said, if they're tortured, you see them all bloodied and sitting in a chair, but they don't get any closer because they're a kid, right? And so they're just like, and then they leave and they scamper off.
You don't hear like the bloody murder.
Exactly. You don't show the torture. You just see they're tortured, and then they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to get out of here," and they run. And so they're not like looking at it in depth. You're just saying they're bloodied and messed up, and then they're like, oh, and then they run. Wow. So, so as a result, the reason why that is considered more okay is if you keep it light. Like I said, 1 or 2 sentence descriptions at most is absolutely what they are like. Nope, we're cutting you off at that point. And that's mainly just because 12-year-olds can handle more. This is true, absolutely, but you shouldn't push it. So keep it to 1 to 2 sentences at absolute most, and even then keep them very mild sentences.
I would just keep it at what you're sure that your audience can handle.
Exactly, exactly.
Like, if you're like, I mean, this is supposed to be for like 12-year-olds, but I don't know if that will really be okay for the 12-year-olds, so I'll just go more towards that.
Yeah, exactly. Describe, and you could even describe something super random. Like if you had them slip and fall and they slipped in a puddle of blood and they're like, gasp, and they don't even see a body, but they know someone died here because there's a lot of blood or something like that.
Like Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
yeah, exactly.
Like there's blood on the walls being painted into words.
Yes.
But it's not like
you're not seeing a body. You're not seeing someone
there's
dead.
There's a cat hanging from the wall and there's blood on
Yes,
the
but
wall.
then the cat isn't even dead. It's just paralyzed.
Oh, and also, also that's another thing. Like when Dumbledore like on the side of the building.
Yeah.
They didn't like.
Yes, they didn't describe him going splat at the end of the building.
Like, they didn't describe him, like,
and so that's why I'm saying cutting off. Yeah, cutting off where you think is appropriate. Either cutting it off early or just showing the aftermath is the best way to do it. Whichever you think is less violent. Which it's your judgment call at that point, honestly, whether you think the aftermath is less violent or whether you think the image in the moment. For example, that image in the moment, better to just cut it off. Perfect. But doing torture, you should definitely only show the aftermath. Because then you see this kind of bloodied person being like, run, run, or whatever. You know, that's not nearly as traumatizing as listening to them scream while they're being tortured.
No, it's a trap thing happens so much, and I know it's coming because they're like, oh, we should totally go into this dark, scary cave. They go into the cave.
Yes.
It's a trap! And then their voice gets like cut off, and they're like, oh,
yes,
no.
Exactly. But see, that's the thing. And so cutting off when it's appropriate or showing the aftermath when you think that the actual image itself is too much. Pick one or the other. It depends on the scenario. Every scenario is different, unfortunately. Like, for example, with the guy with his tongue cut out, having him dance before the court and having him enjoy reveling in this guy's misery is way more better for a junior fiction to early young adult audience than it is going to be actually showing the tongue getting cut out. That's going to be more of an right?
Oh yeah, kind of like another thing. I don't know if y'all have. I'm on the third since I don't know if you guys have read. I don't think it's that big of a spoiler.
Go ahead.
It happens like in the
beginning.
Basically,
yeah, and instead of having to deal with like all of these other things, they just kind of cut it off there and are like, well,
yeah,
cliffhanger quite literally, haha. Yes.
Everyone,
I still think it's so funny that in the 4th book he's like, to my readers, I'm so sorry. Actually, no, I'm not. But anyway, he's a dork. But Verdon's so silly. But anyway, next thing is keep the blood to a minimum. If you are going to describe blood, like I said, have them slip in a puddle of blood, or have it be like their friend is bloodied, or have it be like you see a little blood as they are being whipped, or like
Puss in Boots, and then you can like cut to them puking or something.
Exactly, or you can cut to them puking or covering their eyes or different things like that.
Like, can you stop?
But some people do. Some people do puke at the sight of broken bones and blood and things like that. Well, and so, like, you can cut to them puking, or you can cut to them covering their eyes, or like hiding their face in their knees. Yeah, and so it's more appropriate for the age audience because people could be exposed to that at that age, right? But they're still going to look away and turn away and things like that. And so it's also realistic for your character. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's the sorry.
Or in that case, exactly, and that's when you pull the tears blurred my vision thing, because tears actually can blur your
I
vision.
know, it's annoying. You
I'm
can't
pretty
see
sure
Yeah.
that happens in Charlotte Oil.
Mhm.
Is that what
Yeah.
happens?
Yeah, and so they kind of cut away in a lot of different, unique, creative ways.
There's also
Mhm.
in Naruto in like the first books, this guy he's never been hurt in his entire life because he has this like automatic sand force field that just like protects him, and he actually gets hurt by a super fast guy at some point, and it just gives him like a little scratch right there. But like how it presents it in the anime is so peak because he is in like this shell of sand to protect him, and then all of a sudden you just hear blood, blood, and then it's just like this blood curdling scream with him being like, I'm hurt.
Yeah, and you can also have things where it's over dramatized or they can't see something. Like, for example, in Harry Potter, part of the reason they cut off with the Dumbledore thing was easier was because he was hiding, right? He couldn't exactly run to the edge and look down to see what happened to Dumbledore because he was hiding. He was hiding from everyone. It was intentional. And so it was not only helpful for the scene, but it also helped us to be able to cut that off. Yeah. Yeah. You can have smart moments like that where you as a writer can choose to make a call that is going to make it easier on you to do cutoff scenes.
Oh yes.
Or you can have it from like a distance where they're like seeing like
Yeah, they can't
like,
quite see things.
flashes or like yells.
Yes,
like
or
in
maybe
Harry
even
Potter, a flash of green light, but
yes.
like instead of like he's in the scene, he's seeing the blood, he's seeing the evil guys like running at him, burning his house
He's just
down.
seeing what he can barely see from that far away. Or other times, I know that other young adult and junior fiction authors have done it where the person, like, because they're torturing someone, closes the door. And so all you hear is screaming. And your imagination can fill in the blanks, but at the same time, you don't actually see it.
Imagination can fill in the blanks of everything.
Exactly.
Also, this is a wild imagination.
At that point, it's your own fault. At that point, it's your own reader's fault. You cannot control their imagination. Unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that. That just kind of sucks. That's great for you, sad for your reader, because then it's like, well, I'm sorry, reader. You traumatized yourself. You chose to see things I could not choose. So yeah, unfortunately, your reader might have a wild imagination and imagine something you did not intend, but there's nothing you can really do about that. Next, things that can make it scary without even showing any blood or having any violence. Isolation. Isolation being by yourself. That is incredibly terrifying if you are with a villain, for instance. You are by yourself with the villain. They are chasing you or they are hunting you. That is terrifying. Even if they never get you. Yeah, that's fair too. If you're the only person just sitting there and trying to talk to the villain and you're sitting there like, I have no backup. What do I do if they turn on me? Like, that's terrifying, right? It's much less terrifying if they have like 3 friends behind them.
I think it's terrifying when they're pretending, like when they're being a double agent and they're like work for the villain, but the villain definitely knows, but he's keeping the other person in limbo on purpose. He's like
that can be scary too. Exactly.
Do I know or do I not?
Yes, makes comments that could be interpreted vaguely. Yeah, you can absolutely have that too, where the villain might know their secret identity, and that keeps the hero on edge. Even if they're not actually causing violence towards the hero, that's gonna freak your reader out because they're worried their hero's gonna die.
Oh my goodness, it's so creepy when you have like the person and you like don't think that the villain knows, and all of a sudden they're like,
yeah, they make a comment. Yeah.
And you're like, my real name. And you're like, no, they're cooks.
Yep. And then you also can have things. You can also have things that make it scary too when they're like questioning their sanity. For example, if the villain has been like in
psychological thriller,
psychological thriller, or like in Percy Jackson, where a lot of the times the gods are like, no, that didn't happen. And Percy's like, but I saw it happen.
Gaslighting at its finest.
Yes, and so gaslighting your character can actually make it more scary because then you start to question. You're like, is the character crazy or did that actually happen? And so that can make it scary too for your reader. Another thing that can be interesting is having your character question their sanity of some sort. If they have some sort of mental health struggle or something like that, be careful. We're going to talk about another lesson in a couple weeks about mental health stuff. But you can have mental health struggles from your character where they're like, maybe they struggle with being able to interpret things or being able to hear people correctly. And so they hear something and they're like, what? And they're like, oh, you totally misheard me. And they're like, okay, maybe I did. Maybe I did mishear them. And almost gaslighting themselves. This is still gaslighting. It's just this is internal. This is saying, like, maybe I messed up. Maybe I'm the problem when they may not be the problem.
I knew someone was going to say that.
I feel like it's coming. But yes. Any other questions about making things scary for your audience without going too far?
Age appropriate trauma.
I think cosmic horror is good.
Cosmic horror can be really good. So cosmic horror is. Do you want to do it?
It's like the existential crisis when you're a little kid and you realize that the universe was gonna like explode in a bajillion years.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, or
like that,
yeah, and then you can also have other things like Cthulhu-esque horror, where it's like, is there some other entity out there causing crazy things to happen? And that can be a little less scary because it's less real. It's more removed from the actual reality of life. And so, in some ways, having fantasy scary stuff, you can get away with a little more like dragons and things like that because of the fact that dragons aren't real. If dragons were real, I feel like that'd be different.
Like sci-fi.
Yes, sci-fi is also a great way to do it where you have freaky aliens and you can get away with a lot more with aliens because of the fact that they don't actually exist.
Okay, but I mean like less into the future, like you
Uh-huh.
do some real life science.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can absolutely do things like that, kind of an X-Files almost thing.
Exploding banana house potassium.
More like for example, you can also go into the cryptid mythology, like what would it be like to like what would it be like to meet Mothman, or what would it be like to meet Bigfoot, and those kinds of things. And you can go into that kind of almost sci-fi fantasy extension with real scientific explanations or things like that, or even actual real scary things that aren't as violent though. I know that part of what scared me the most actually in the sci-fi book Cinder by Marissa Meyer was the plague, because that's a terrifying idea that the plague, that the plague could wipe it. Yeah, and it's not a violent plague, right? It's not like they're like bleeding from their eyes or anything. It's just like bruises and things on their skin, but you know they're dying. But you know they're dying, right? And so it's messed up. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so things like that where you can have zombies, or you can have a disease that's slowly killing someone or something like that. That is equally scary without being violent. So, any other questions or comments regarding this? Yes.
So, how can you like imply scariness well with like the foreshadowing scariness, or like
this is when
like impending.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't know. I think I might have something to do with this.
Okay.
I was writing my story, and it's about a psychopath father. Guy's running away from this guy who claims to be his father.
Yes. And then he hides in a hole.
Yeah. Well, that might change. So he's running away, and then he like pulls out his phone and he like clicks the button 5 times to like call the police. I explained that's what it means.
Yeah.
Some people don't have that.
No, yeah. Some people don't have that function. Yeah.
And then I said like he sighed in relief, not knowing that all the police would find was a broken phone and a backpack.
Exactly. Things like that can freak your reader out. Another thing you can do is descriptions. Just because of the fact that it can put your reader on edge. It's kind of the equivalent. Descriptions. Yeah. So descriptions for readers are like music for watching with TV shows and movies.
Oh, yeah, like
where you hear those creepy music and you're like, I don't care how fluffy this scene is, something's going down.
Yeah, like a weird like screech in the background.
Yes.
Like,
yes, exactly. And then violin music starts playing and you're like, nope, out. Yes. You're like, I don't care if he's petting a kitten, something's wrong.
you hear the final boss music.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
And they're like doing those like old painting like those
Yeah.
where they like show the details and then music in the background.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens.
Oh yeah.
That's always frustrating when that happens.
They play such creepy music in the background when they do those like painting analysis.
Look deeper. There's something something hidden behind this painting.
And you think it's gonna be like a dragon, and it's nothing.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Wow.
so in that regard, it's the same thing. You're setting the stage, you're setting the mood. That's what music is doing for this scene. However, with you, because you don't have music that you can utilize in that specific context, you're using the music of words. So, like with eyes, if you have this guy walking up to this lady and you think it's not that creepy, you might do emerald eyes. But like I said, if this guy's walking up to this lady and he's supposed to be menacing, you could say poison colored eyes, or you could say the color of a rotten apple, or something like that. And then all of a sudden it puts the reader on edge. They're like, why do you describe it that way? Like,
in this book that I'm reading,
Yeah.
by Brandon Wolf, Five Kingdoms.
Yeah,
In
totally.
the fourth book, he literally like implies and involves this realm where everything has music. So
Oh,
like
yeah.
whenever
Not the
whenever
soundtrack.
main
Soundtrack in real world would be terrible.
whenever the main character like goes up to some dungeon or
Yeah.
prison, or like he's even close to the dungeon or prison, you can like the book describes like ominous music flying up ahead.
That's super
But
cool.
like I kind of like don't like it though, because just throughout the entire book he's just like ominous music, ominous music, ominous music.
You're like, give me more.
And, like, give me more. Do you
Yeah,
not
no, that's
know how music works?
Yeah, no, that's fair. It can be frustrating for music fans
But,
in
like,
particular.
Yes,
I
but,
will
like,
say
I-
you can do
I am
things
very
like that
musical,
though.
So when
Yeah.
I
You can use music in that way though too. Like I know some people do this with reading and serial killers, like we talked about earlier, where some people who are extra freaked out or extra freaky and in the head can sometimes find that fun, and they'll do things like ring around the rosy.
No,
and
no,
as they start
no,
singing, you're like, nope, out, out, getting out.
No.
Exactly. And so as a result, you can add descriptions like that though, and freak out your reader using said descriptions. And when you do descriptions like that, all of a sudden your reader's on edge and it's like, why? What is happening? And so using freaky descriptions can add to that tone.
Like the Joker, he's freaking weird.
Yes,
I love
yes.
it.
But even then, though, if you see like how they describe him in novelizations and things like that, it's always like that broken smile or things like that, like things that put you on edge, set you so you're like, nope.
Or like
and then
there was something behind his eyes.
Yes, exactly. There's something behind his eyes. Something I couldn't feel. Or like they'll describe a tree, and instead of describing the tree swaying in the wind beautifully, it's more like the crackle of its leaves were like bones or something like that. And you're like,
like the tree
what
outside
is
Hogwarts
happening?
that like eats them up really badly.
Yeah.
How kind of could you like if you were repeating the same kind of like
Similar descriptions.
Like idea or descriptions
Mhm.
of something being
Yeah,
freaky,
like with the ominous music.
but then you wanted to like make it like
Spice it up.
bigger and badder for like the end of the book, some giant evil fortress.
I would say
Like because Brandon Wolf,
Yeah.
I was reading that poet and I was like, please make it good when the ominous music comes up ahead. And it was like, ominous music started to play. And I'm like, no!
Oh,
Give me
You're
something.
going to the fallen temple! You could have said like a singular dark note
Yes.
echoed inside his head.
Wow,
and sent
that's a dope description.
multiple chills down his spine. I just
idea.
created all that inside my head and I was like, why did you do that?
I have an idea for this. So
Brandon
I'd
Hall is a
say-
great writer, but I will say you can tell where writers have their flaws because you see something they don't because you're a specialist in this field.
I have
Yeah.
an idea for this. So I would say in the beginning, I'd make it like I'd relate it to something, like make it a metaphor. So like the music played like an orchestra in the background, and then at the end of the book you can be like the orchestral music, like I don't know, use really intense words that make it sound like they're all like.
Yes. Yes, or you could even just say cut off to dead silence.
No,
and that's equally freaky.
It's like in the middle of the night when nobody's up and all you can hear is just nothing.
Nope. Exactly. And so yeah, description I would say the main thing is just amping up your descriptions. Making sure you start slow and amp it up.
I showed my dad for the spiders. He's like,
But yeah, so I would just say with answer to your question, that's a great question. That make sure to start slow so that way you have room to build. So start with mild descriptions, start with chill descriptions, and then let it build with time.
I didn't think you were dead.
Exactly, yeah. So you might describe the tree as being white as ivory, which implies bone but doesn't say bone, and therefore it has a different connotation. And then when you reach closer to there, you say like crackling bones, and then that gives a more harsh ring to it, even though the other is still creepy. It's a little less creepy. It's toned down creepy. Yeah, you can absolutely keep track of that throughout your novel if you so desire. Yes.
Personification also.
Personification can be very helpful, yes.
Like this
Another great tool.
audiobook I'm listening to is called The Goldfish Boy. It's about this kid with like severe contamination OCD, and every time he like opens a window or like his dad like steps into his room, it's like the germs jumped across the ground, squealing with delight as they like reveled in my clean room or something.
Yeah, because that's how he sees it, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's part of it too, is being able to either see through the character's eyes if they're the one who's freaked out, or move into third person omniscient and kind of play around with that.
Oh, well, it's even creepier because it's written from like first person, so like I and stuff.
Yeah.
And also, I think it's even more freaky when like sometimes I can understand his reasoning, and then it just like escalates.
Yeah.
Because like he doesn't want to go outside because germs lead to illness and illness leads to death, which is technically true, but that's a little extreme.
Yeah, but that's the point of OCD. It's that type of OCD leads to those kinds of thoughts. And so it can be interesting to play with various fears of your character and things like that, escalating fears, because we all have that problem, even if we don't have anxiety or OCD. We have that issue where sometimes we're like, and then everyone will laugh at me, and then I'll be horrible, and then, like you escalate in your own brain.
Oh yeah, he washes his hands like 12 times sometimes. He just washes his hands until it feels right. And also,
it must be so dry.
Oh yeah, his hands are cracked and like so dry and it's terrible.
Anyway, any other questions or commentary on making things scary without being blood, gore, and death?
Blood,
and
death.
Exactly.
So
we don't want to be Judy Hopps in that moment.
blood, and death.
Anyway, so any other comments or questions before I turn the video off?
Any ideas for a villain for a junior fiction novel?
In general, villains for a junior fiction novel, if you're doing fantasy, best to make them a fantasy creature, because then you can make them kind of, almost, with a caveat, almost as creepy as you want and be able to get away with it because they're a monster.
Okay. Well,
they're not a person, and therefore it's a little less freaky.
If you
that's what I feel like the villain.
I'm making him like a dark fabrication of dark energy.
Yeah.
Rather than being like some actual just psychopath.
Yeah, which is actually freakier.
He was literally created with like all of the dark thoughts and the dark ideas of this wizard who couldn't keep living because he was like already like 200 years old.
Dang, that's amazing. But yeah, so and then if you're doing more of a realistic story, I would say definitely look into Michael Vey, because even though that last 7th book, no offense, I'm sorry, but that last book was awful. Richard Paul Evans, you're an awesome author, but you really should have taken a nap and not forced yourself to keep writing, because you were super burnt out, bro. I'm sorry, but yeah, he even said that when he came back, and he was like, man, I was so burnt out, I'm just so glad to be done. And I'm sitting here going, no wonder it was so bad. That 7th book was so bad. He needed to take a nap. He needed to take a nap. But yes, if you read all the way up until book 6, you don't have to read book 7. I can already tell you what happens. Yeah, in my opinion, you can just stop, because I can just tell you how it ends in less than 2 sentences. You don't really need to read it.
Death, and then this guy dies, and then this happens. Wow.
Anyway, but yeah, so I would highly recommend reading Michael Vey, purely because Hatch is a terrifying villain. He's an absolutely great depiction of a terrifying real person that could actually exist.
Oh yeah, I don't like when the villains are like
yes,
actually exist.
He could actually exist, but he never once traumatized me as a reader. I never felt like, oh, that was too much, because of the fact that it was more just, he's a freaky guy, and I know something's wrong with him, and he is messed up. And I knew that without ever once being like, oh, blood, guts, and death all the time. Like
Voldemort.
Yeah, or like Voldemort is also very freaky. Yes.
Of a soul.
Exactly, and you're like, something's wrong with you at the beginning. Like, you already know that something's wrong with him, especially because he wanted to kill a child.
Also,
like, come on,
like,
who does that?
Where's the disconnect between Tom Riddle and Voldemort for real? Like, what happened there?
Yeah, honestly, he made the Horcruxes, J.K. Rowling made it very evident that the reason he went crazy was because of the fact that he was so abused and he was considered less than, and he was like, but I'm this amazing pureblood wizard, I should be better than this, I don't deserve to be bullied by the humans, this isn't fair to the people of magic, they should be in charge. And so as a result, part of it was ego, part of it was abuse, but part of it was ego. Instead of saying, hey, that was messed up, like they shouldn't have done that, he was like, they shouldn't have done it because I'm better than them.
That's like the villain.
Bad logic.
That's like the villain in Armshot. He,
Wait, is this spoilers?
not really. Okay. He's basically trying to like defy fate.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't like how the gods like designed the world.
Yeah.
Like
I don't like your world
certain stories or like hints.
Yeah.
Were like just indefinite.
Yeah.
You couldn't change them.
Mm-hmm.
So he like tries to make himself immortal so that he can stop all that, and so he can change the bending of the world, so that he can change fate. He can make that not like that, and it's such a convincing like
yes
villain that so many evil or just so many like different guys join.
Yeah,
like he has an entire arc.
Exactly. It's like with it's like with Voldemort, where a lot of people join him because they're like, yeah, I'm tired of living in hiding. It's dumb, you know. And so in some ways, that's another thing: building a villain that gives some sort of reason. And for example, with Hatch, the way that he was so compelling was he said, "I can make you all rich and powerful." And there's a lot of people that would give anything to be rich and powerful. Like that, there are a lot of corrupt people in this world. And so with
I said nothing.
with moving, any other comments or questions about this topic before I turn the thing off? No? Okay. All right. That's we'll be good then, and we'll turn it off. Unfortunately, that does mean we need to pack up and stuff. But the next writing contest that we have is going to be the Winter Romance Contest. So for the Winter Romance Contest, the prompt for it is write a short story that involves some sort of romance. When I say involves some sort of romance, they can be like already a married couple, they can be going on a date, they can have just met and the guy is trying to get up the courage to ask this girl out or whatever.
Wait, what are you talking about?
The next contest is yes, but I was specifying like it doesn't have to be a full like they meet, they get married. Like it's a short story. It should be like they're going on a date, or they're going on an anniversary, or they're going, or he's trying to work up the courage to ask a girl out. Ah, that's a great question. I'm gonna finish answering when this is due, and then I will answer that question outside of this video because that is too long for this to answer. So those will be due at the end of February. Yes, you theoretically can write fan fiction. Please know we do have an originality section though, so you will lose at least 1 point in that section. But that doesn't mean you can't win, because if you get 5s, then all the rest of them.
Well, I usually
So,
write original. I just figured out
yes.
I could write fan fiction.
Yeah, you can write fan fiction. Absolutely. Like I said, you'll only lose 1 point for it. So, like, you can. Anyway, I'm going to turn the video off now, and then we can discuss that. So,